Ignored warning signs. A family tells 13 investigates the murder and rape of a 27-year-old Colorado Springs woman could have been prevented.
Tonight, the governor is responding to our investigation, saying he supports changes to keep criminals like this violent sex offender now accused of murder in prison. In this special report, Violence Back on the Streets, investigative reporter Sean Rice explains why a family believes state law enabled the convict who is now charged with brutally killing their daughter.
She always had a smile.
All the way from Florida, 27-year-old Allison Scarfone's family is grieving the loss of the woman they call funny and sweet. On the night of October 10th, they say Allison met the wrong person, convicted sex offender Gregory Whittemore. Police reports accuse Whittemore of raping Allison and leaving her to die in the southeast Colorado Springs garage. The autopsy report says Allison was found in a plastic tote, strangled and smothered to death with a black trash bag over her head.
He should not have been out. He should have been monitored a lot better than he was being monitored.
Whittemore was on supervised parole at the time. Prison officials labeled him a low risk to reoffend when he was let out of prison.
At every step, they made mistakes.
And
from
not
letting him out too soon, from not monitoring him enough, from even when he made mistakes, just letting it go.
This surveillance video shows Whittemore walking into World Massage Therapy in El Paso County in July 2012. He would later tell a state parole board member he went there trying to pay for sexual favors. Records say he exposed himself to the masseuse and began pulling at her hair and dress before knocking her unconscious. The victim was checked into a hospital and was told that she could be dead after being violently sexually assaulted. After spending a little over a year in county jail, Whittemore pleaded guilty to sex assault. A judge sentenced Whittemore to 10 years to life on probation. He was released back into the community in August 2013. But in April 2015, probation officers reported they couldn't find or get in touch with Whittemore, which was a violation of his probation. Police eventually found him and arrested him near Charleston, South Carolina. Records obtained by 13 Investigates show he picked up a 16-year-old girl on the side of the road and took her across the country. Police found journals Whittemore wrote in admitting he was having sex with the teen and taking pictures of her for prostitution purposes. He was brought back to Colorado and was sent here to Fremont Correctional Prison for violating numerous conditions of his probation. Officers told the judge his repeated behavior warranted quote-unquote grave concern for community safety. A judge sentenced Whittemore to 5 years to up to life in prison. That's a sentence reserved for sex offenders that commit egregious sex crimes.
I wasn't concerned with her life at that time.
In a recorded phone call, Whittemore interviewed with a parole board member in 2020 requesting to get out of prison. He was not shy about his violent sexual behavior with an El Paso County masseuse back in 2012.
I wanted sexual acts. I wanted more than what she was willing to offer. And in the end, after exposing myself to her and undressing in front of her and masturbation as well in front of her, I ended up physically assaulting her, nearly causing her death. And then I left her there for dead as she bled out.
And he vowed to change.
The only thing that I can do is pay back what I owe, whether it be my life here in prison or my life on parole.
Whittemore was let out again in March 2021, this time on parole. Prison officials say he did routine daily check-ins with a parole officer.
It's extremely disappointing that with all of his priors and his past behaviors that they decided that he would have been stable enough to go back into society when he clearly was not.
Despite mental health, substance use, and sex offender treatment, Internal Department of Corrections records show Whittemore tested positive for meth months after getting out of prison. He was also fired from his job at a Colorado Springs gas station for making sexually inappropriate comments to customers. One of those customers, Aubrey Duncan, contacted his parole officer 3 months before he was accused of murdering Allison Scarfone.
If that's reported, I think that should be enough. had they done something more about him, Allison wouldn't have been killed.
Under a 2019 law, parole officers can only file paperwork requesting to send a parolee back if they're accused of a new felony or misdemeanor crime, or for 4 violations that do not rise to the level of a specific criminal charge. Advocates of the law say it's the best way to reduce prison populations and help criminals successfully transition back into society after being released from prison. But District Attorney John Kellner, who represents Arapahoe and Douglas counties, says it makes the job of prosecutors and law enforcement even more difficult.
That puts everybody in our state at greater risk.
Democrat Senator Julie Gonzalez of Denver, who wrote that 2019 law, has repeatedly ignored our multiple requests for an interview about the law, and the Parole Board and Department of Corrections refused to speak with us about it too. But Parole Board members met with the State Joint Judiciary Committee earlier this month. Joe Morales explained to lawmakers how they assess risk when deciding to release a prisoner.
We talk about why did you go out the bank? Nothing's like a problem, man.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis told 13 Investigates he supports giving the board more legal authority to put criminals back in prison for parole violations. Parole data shows that back in March 2018, the parole board sent 249 convicted criminals back for violating terms of their parole. The technical violation law took effect in 2020. The data shows a steep decline in parole revocations by the state board starting that year. In February 2020, 152 prisoners were sent back for technical violations, and that number dropped to 17 in May. 17% of parolees released in 2022 returned to prison within 1 year for committing a new crime. But the data does not show how many of those are criminals with a violent past or are returning to prison for a violent crime.
That does not allow people to make smart decisions about needed reforms, and it certainly doesn't share with the public the truth, the reality of what's going on with our Department of Corrections and the parole system.
Now, Allison's family back in Florida is pushing for action. They want to make sure no one else is failed by Colorado's parole system, failed like Allison was.
Until something changes, it's just going to keep happening to different families, and more things are just going to slip through the crack.
Sean Rice, 13 Investigates.
And mental health experts are currently evaluating his mental competency to see if he can stand trial for Allison's murder. His attorneys have not responded to several requests for comment on that case or our investigation.